Today I thought about the Anglo-Zanzibar War, the shortest war in recorded history that lasted about 38 minutes. I know it sounds more like a schoolyard fight, but let me explain. This is a story of war between two nations, the British and Zanzibar, a Muslim nation in Africa which is today part of Tanzania. Before we get to the war part, let me give you some background. It all started with this guy, Sultan Hamad bin Thuwaini. Hamad was running Zanzibar under what the British called a protectorate, which is colonial speak for we own you but we'll pretend that you're independent so we can sleep better at night. Now, Zanzibar wasn't just any random island. It was the spice trading hub of the Indian Ocean apart from India itself. It was also a crucial pit stop in the Britain, Africa and India triangle of colonialism. Basically, Zanzibar was extremely important to the British for all the spices that they never used on any of their food. Think of it as Britain's Amazon warehouse of all the loot and trade goods. Britain had the sweet deal going with Zanzibar. Essentially, Britain took resources from the people of Zanzibar and provided them with security and told the Zanzibarian people what they could and could not do. Hamad was their guy. Pro-British, cooperative, didn't ask too many questions, everything was going perfectly for the empire. But then, on August 25th, 1896, Hamad suddenly died at 11:40 am. This is where it starts getting absolutely wild. Enter this guy, Prince Khalid bin Bargash, who everybody was side-eyeing harder than a nuisance YouTuber because he was suspected to have poisoned his uncle. Now, according to the British Zanzibar agreements, specifically the treaty signed on June 14, 1890, every time a sultan died, the British had to approve the next ruler. To which Khalid said and marched right into the palace complex the minute his uncle was dead. The palace was in the capital of Zanzibar called Zanzibar City. The capital had three main buildings, the palace, the harem, and something called the House of Wonders. The House of Wonders was the first building in this region to have electricity. Anyway, Khalid declared himself the Sultan of Zanzibar and started gathering an army. The British Consul General, this guy, Basil Cave, tried to dissuade Khalid multiple times. He sent him multiple messages telling him to stop and rethink what he's doing. But Khalid really wanted to be the next Sultan and he really didn't want to listen to the British anymore. Now, this is where Khalid made what the current generation calls a big yikes because the British considered this a casus belli. By the end of the day, Khalid had gathered 2,800 troops. Most of these were civilians, but he also had 700 of his loyal palace guards and some servants and slaves. His navy consisted of a singular ship called the HSS Glasgow, which was a glorified royal boat. In terms of artillery, Khalid had some action machine guns, a Gatling gun, a 17th century bronze cannon, two 12-pounder field guns that were gifted to the Sultan by Kaiser Wilhelm II. So he had decent firepower by 1800 standards. But here's the thing, he was about to go up against the British Royal Navy. On the British side, there was HMS St. George and four other modern warships that could turn a building, especially a wooden building, into really expensive confetti from a mile away. On August 26th, Cave received authorization from London that basically said, do whatever you need to do, just make sure you win. So Cave sent Khalid an ultimatum saying, hold down your flag and leave the palace by 9 am on 27th or we're opening fire. During the night, they cleared all the merchant ships from the harbour and evacuated all the British women and children to safety. At 8 am on August 27th, Khalid sent a messenger asking for negotiations, and Cave basically replied, the only negotiations to be had are you doing exactly what you're told to do. At 8:30, another messenger from Khalid declared, we have no intention of hauling down our flag and we do not believe that you will open fire on us. To which Cave responded, we have no intentions of opening fire, but unless you do as you are told, we shall certainly do so. At 8:55 am, Admiral Rawson hoisted the signal, prepare for action. At exactly 9 am, General Matthews gave the order to commence bombardment, and exactly 2 minutes later, bombardment was commenced. By 9:02, British ships started firing. They obliterated everything in view. HMS Thrush and Sparrow opened fire simultaneously, and the first shot from Thrush obliterated one of the 12-pounder cannons. Within minutes, the palace caught fire and the casualties started mounting because, well, surprise, surprise, wooden palaces don't do well against high explosive shells. At 9:05 am, Khalid's flagship, the HSS Glasgow, decided to be brave and opened fire on HMS St. George with its 7 9-pounder guns and a Gatling gun that was a gift from Queen Victoria herself. Oh, the irony. The return fire sank the Glasgow faster than you can say Imperial overreach, and the harbour was so shallow that the mast stuck out like a maritime tombstone. The crew promptly hoisted a British flag as a token of surrender and were rescued by the British sailors. Meanwhile, the palace was getting turned into expensive firewood. The main defensive tower collapsed, the harem caught fire, and Khalid's artillery was completely silenced. Some of Khalid's men tried to fire rifles at the British as they approached the palace, but without much effect. By 9:40 am, just 38 minutes after the war had started, the palace flag had been shot down, the fire had ceased, and Khalid had escaped to the German consulate with 40 of his followers begging for asylum. In these 38 minutes of war, Zanzibar had lost about 500 people killed or wounded. Most of these were from the palace fire, not even direct combat. On the other side, the British had one casualty, a petty officer on HMS Thrush who got wounded and later recovered. Yes, one guy. The casualty ratio was literally 500 to 1. That's not a war, that's target practice with a body count. The British fired around 500 shells, 4,100 machine gun rounds, and 1,000 rifle rounds during the engagement. Now, here's the ultimate colonial insult. After absolutely decimating the capital of Zanzibar in 38 minutes, they also forced Zanzibar to pay war reparations for the cost of war. The reparations or the cost of war amounted to 300,000 rupees. It's like getting mugged and then being handed the bill for the mugger's transportation and ammunition. Khalid lived in exile until World War I, was captured again in 1916, and then sent again on exile. He was eventually allowed to return to East Africa, where he died in Mombasa in 1927. This Anglo-Zanzibar War basically defined the concept of gunboat diplomacy. The British made sure that the wreck of HHS Glasgow remained visible in the harbour till 1912, when it was finally scrapped. Well, that's all about the Anglo-Zanzibar War. If you like the video, if you want to suggest more topics, or if you just want to say hi, do make sure to make use of the comment section. Do like, share and subscribe. That's all for today.